history with the Ford family. Having served as Mayor Rob Ford's Director of Communications and Press Secretary, God rest his soul, I have had a unique perspective and relationship with the Ford family for many years. So it's my honor, Premier Ford, to be here with you tonight and to talk about many of the things that you are doing and your government will do for the great people of Ontario. This is a party that's been, as I said, in the wilderness for 15 years. But this is also a party that, though you have your family, the Ford family, has a storied history with the PC Party of Ontario. But they didn't always know you. So tell us, what brought you here?
Well, the people, first of all. I love the people. These people here. They're the backbone of the party, our team. And I mean this, I've been in politics for 30 years. I've never seen a better team of MPPs than what we have. We have such depth and character, and we're all on the same page. We're a solid team, and I can't thank them enough. But as I've said so many different times, Adrian, you know, we have a great team of All-Stars. We have a better team outside of Queen's Park. Not only the people in this room, but thousands and thousands of people right across this province. When we travel across the province, we go into these towns and you talk to these people. They're huge supporters. They don't necessarily belong to the party, and they don't have to belong to the party. But there's so much support from traditional NDP members, traditional Liberal members, or voters, I should say, not members. Some of our members actually tore up their card during the campaign and joined our party, but we have a diverse group.
We always said there weren't enough Conservatives in Ontario or Toronto to elect a Ford because it took a lot to resonate with other members of parties, Liberals, Independents, NDPers. But that's one of the beauties of your family, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So you've mentioned the broader family of your caucus, your party. But I've had the honor and pleasure to get to know your actual family. Beautiful daughter Kara was up here, spoke beautifully earlier. See Carla's here, Diane's here. They are the ones that were your initial team. Talk about them a little bit.
Well, we have an incredible family, a very close-knit family, and I appreciate everything they do. Because in politics, and there's so many people in politics out there, you don't have an opportunity to spend enough time at home because you're going around the clock, and you need a strong family to understand that and back you. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I had great parents raising us. My dad served under my care, as Kara was saying, and my mom, she's the matriarch. I can't believe everything she's gone through, and she's as solid as a rock.
So, if anybody takes anything away, having known when Rob was running for mayor, or even for council, Rob was council for almost 10 years, it's a family affair with the Fords. So once you know one Ford, you know all the Fords. And it is a testament, I think, to many of the things that you represent as Premier of Ontario. From the time in which you ran, which was an unprecedented situation, and we will talk about that a little bit, but where do you find yourself now? I want to ask you, what is it that has been the best thing, the worst thing, and the most surprising thing about being Premier of Ontario? And be honest, the media is watching.
Just tell it the way.
No fake news here tonight.
You know, we sat back and we saw our province getting destroyed, like all of us. That's why everyone's engaged. They were frustrated. 15 years of scandals, political corruption. We found out during the election they were cooking the books. We're $15 billion deficit now, and we're the largest subnational debt in the world. We can't pass that on to your little guy, right? Your little guy, and the next generation. So we need to make changes. We need to be a strong province. You keep hearing the old saying, we were the engine of Canada. We will be the engine of Canada once again.
You always talk about wanting to represent the little guy, little gal out there. That sort of beleaguered voice of the taxpayer that has not had a chance for someone to speak for them at the table. You now have that chance. And it's a pretty big voice to have. It's a big microphone. I want to ask you, in terms of where you are now, you've been 141 days, according to Lindsay Vanstone, 141 days in office. It's not a long time, but you've had an extraordinary first 100 days in office with a long laundry list of accomplishments and frankly unwinding many of the things that this province has endured under a disastrous Liberal government for 15 years. So this is, yeah, there's my bias, ladies and gentlemen. This is now your chance, but I want your chance to tell Ontarians, tell the people who put you where you are. What do you find to be the most challenging thing of what you do, aside from the fact that you still answer your darn phone?
Probably return every phone call. That's the toughest thing. The rest is, it's a great team. It comes naturally from politics, but I get hundreds of calls, and I do my best to return all the calls. I'm in the office till midnight or after midnight, and it's amazing how many people are up at midnight when you text them. So it just keeps going, and I always say my voicemail fills up, so just message me and I'll do my best. As I'm feeling my pocket, I have it on vibrate right now, it's buzzing right now. But
what surprised you the most about being premier? I mean, it's overwhelming. You're a successful businessman, and you deal with a few $1 million, but you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You literally have people's lives in your hands, Doug, and you have made significant commitments to your government, and your cabinet ministers are all over the province talking about the things that you need to unwind, that the Liberals have done, and that you need to do to ensure a safe, secure, and prosperous future for Ontario. What surprised you the most of where you are now?
Well, the deficit was the biggest surprise. You have plans to do a lot of great things when you think it's a few $1 billion, but then when you find out it's a $15 billion structural deficit. That's the key word, structural deficit. So if we had an asset, we aren't going to do this. I'm just using this as an example. If we had an asset worth $15 billion, people don't understand. Even if we sold that asset next year, our deficit would be $15 billion. So that's going to be a challenge, but we're still going to be able to do great things. It's very simple. You can't take care of the most needy people in society when your province is bankrupt. But even saying that, we did do that. We just ended up giving 1.1 million people the largest tax break ever in the province.
What would you say to your critics? Many of them, some of them are observers here tonight, some of them may be back in the media gallery, that will say that you're giving tax breaks to the richest while forgetting about those that are most vulnerable. What would you say to that?
They're dishonest. It's not true. As I mentioned, we're giving tax breaks to 1.1 million people, the most vulnerable people in society. We're reducing gas prices by 5 cents a liter. That affects every single person. When I crisscrossed Ontario, the number one issue were hydro bills and gas bills. On the gas bills, if you notice on your gas bill, it says right on there that their gas bill is going down is $250 a year because of the cap and trade, which was just a terrible tax. So you have to stimulate the economy by putting money back into people's pocket, not the government's pocket. The people's pocket, no.
Some of you may know this. I'm from Saskatchewan, and I'm a bit biased. I think that we had one of the best premiers in this country under Brad Wall. But I'm on Ontario now. And I have a lot of confidence in you, Doug, and I have a lot of confidence in your Finance Minister, Vic Fideli, with this. Thoughtful and candid economic statements that this province has seen, well, frankly, in 15 years, to the point where the Ontario's Auditor General, for the first time, gave the province's books a clean bill of health, meaning not that a $15 billion deficit is a clean bill of health, but an honest accounting about really what our future generations have to continue. We also did note that everyone was wearing yellow in solidarity with him the other day to recognize that he is a fan of the yellow tie. And we're also probably going to make a drinking game out of saying for the people, by the way. It's going to happen. So, I want to talk a little bit about the economic update. There has been some quibble with what is the actual deficit. And I know yourself, as Premier, and your Minister, and your Treasury Minister have all said this is a reality, it's $15 billion. Some would suggest that it's actually not as big because your government has agreed to the commitments that the former Wynne government was going to do, so it's a bit smaller, so we can claim credit. What's the reality? What are we truly facing here?
$15 billion. There's no, numbers don't change.
And how are we tackling it?
It's $15 billion.
And how are we going to tackle it?
Well, we're going line item by line item. That's why we did the line item by line item audit. We're driving efficiencies in every single ministry, and we've saved $3.3 billion. We've saved the ratepayers with the turbines that we canceled. A lot of the contracts, $790 million. So we're going to do it responsibly. We aren't going to go in there and start slashing and burning. We're going to do it responsibly, and we will balance. It may be in year 4, but we're going to balance. But we can't be reckless and start slashing and burning.
Not only did you talk about tax cuts for some of the most vulnerable or lowest income earners in Ontario, but there is other things that we also decided to do. We talked about rent controls. We talked about cutting red tape. One of the things that there is a mantra with your government now is making it more efficient. You, in fact, stood and unveiled a sign that said Ontario is now open for business. That sends a signal, and that's important. There is a question I would like to know. Can you articulate for us, in the course of the last very few 141 days, how your government has been able to already achieve some of those savings, and how you're going to tackle that red tape?
Well, first of all, there's 385,000 regulations, and that's staggering. It makes it very difficult for businesses to thrive when they just have people on their staff dealing with government bureaucracy and red tape and regulations. We met with the CEO of a bank, I won't mention the next one, the bank just last week, and he was saying regulations cost businesses billions and billions of dollars. That's why the economy is booming right now in the U.S., because they ended up getting rid of so many regulations. So we put committees together to go after, I call them the SWAT team, to go after areas that have endless regulations, because there's so much duplication with the federal government. So we're going to get rid of the red tape and the regulations. We've lowered the corporate tax rate from 11.5% down to 10.5%. We're got rid of the CEO and the board from Hydro One. We're going to start lowering the Hydro rate.
$6 million mine.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
For people that are in business, I'll give you an example. A gold mine that they visited up north. It took them, this is really unbelievable, it took them 7 years to get through all the red tape and permits. We're going to knock that down to a year. We're going to have a business friendly. I'll give you one quick story. We were in Brockville, main wire. And he said, Doc, I'm on the other side of the river. What stops me from going to New York State? Lower taxes, and giving me these incentives, tax-free zones. And he said, well, guess what? I did go there. I went with the Chamber of Commerce for New York. And the Department of Labor, our equivalent of administrative labor, Department of Labor came in and they said, how can we help you? We'll hire people. We'll do whatever it takes. And then he goes, I come back to Ontario, and the Ministry of Labor is in my plan saying, I'm going to find you for this, I'm going to find you for that, I'm going to find you for that. So it's a culture change. We have to change the culture to make sure that when people have decisions over here,
can we get a little political for a moment?
yes.
Okay, and we're here to entertain the folks.
That nasty bill.
The folks are here. Done. We're going to entertain the folks.
Yes,
As
the folks.
Let's talk a little bit about a couple of decisions that you've made recently with respect to party status. We often like to pejoratively refer to the Liberal Party of Ontario now, fortunately, being the Caravan Party. And this is where I think they are well-deserved to be. But this is now something that you have sort of codified and said that the ability to have party status is a bit of the higher threshold. Was that something that you did based on, the fact that our population is growing, the realities of, previous governments have done that, how Ontario's political environment is moving, or is it more looking forward to perhaps 4 years from now, 8 years from now, and thinking, well, if the left is going to split the vote, let's make it harder for them to do so? What was the rationale there?
Well, it's very simple. When you increase the number of seats, you have to increase the threshold. The threshold is roughly about 10%, so it's 12 seats. And we're keeping it the same, 10%.
Earlier today, the delegates that have attended the Peace of the Party convention had the opportunity to hear from the leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, Andrew Scheer. Mr. Scheer very plainly, very clearly called out the current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Notice why I said current. About the carbon tax in particular. Let's talk about the carbon tax. You campaigned on it. You have vociferously opposed to it, and I would argue, in spite of what some have said, you have a mandate to fight it. And that means in any capacity for the residents of Ontario. But not just for the residents of Ontario, Peter Ford. I would say you have the opportunity as leader of the largest province in this country, with a pretty big stick to wield, to have the chance to help have other leaders across the country stand up with you. And we all saw the cover of Maclean's, we saw the resistance cover. But there is a chance now for all of you to stand up, for all Canadians, and say to Justin Trudeau, no, you've taken too much. This is not going to actually reduce our emissions. This is just going to take more money out of your pocket. How then can you rationalize eliminating some of the carbon revenue that the feds have said they will give to you and say, I'm going to still keep your taxes low? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, it's a terrible tax. The carbon tax is the worst single tax that you can put on the backs of businesses of all sizes, families. It makes us uncompetitive in a world market. So we do roughly about $489 billion of trade with our neighbors south of the border. Total trade is $500 billion. So when we're competing against someone south of the border, and they don't have to pay the carbon tax, maybe California does, but we don't do a tremendous amount of trade in California, and maybe one other state, but when we're competing against Michigan and Ohio, and we have our one hand tied to 100 bags, we just aren't competitive. Every single time you fill up your tank, you'd be paying more. You go buy your groceries, you'd be paying more. It affects every single thing, and it does nothing at all for the environment. And it's a terrible tax. It's scary.
I put you on the spot. You've answered some tough questions, tough-ish questions. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I'm gonna reverse the roles. This is gonna be good. Do you think the media is biased?
I will say this, Mr. Premier. I think every media outlet in this country has a bias, and if they tell you that otherwise, that's fake news.
I have to tell you, it was Adrian's birthday a couple days ago, so happy belated birthday. Here with Raymond Joe. Raymond's a champion. I absolutely love Raymond. And as Dan said, you've never campaigned door to door until you went out with Raymond. He'll go 6 hours straight. The guy's unbelievable. Happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday, Raymond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long convention so far, but I hope we really hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Mr. Premier, just before I let you go, the party has been through some tumultuous times, shall we say. It's been almost like a U.S. primary. You've been at this pretty much since January, when the former leader had some challenges. The current mayor of Brampton, mayor-elect of Brampton. But you worked with the interim leader, Vic Fideli, now your finance minister, to actually clean up the monumental hands. There are a number of people in this room who are going to be casting a ballot tomorrow to ensure that the health and the future of the Peace Party Ontario is honest and fair. Who do you feel, and I know you have a few people that you have supported, but how do you want, what do you want to convey to the residents, to the members here tonight about how they are going to cast their ballot? What do you feel needs to happen with your party?
Well, usually conventions, there's a lot of policy involved, but we just came off an election not too long ago, a little over 4 months ago. So the policy is what we said 4 months ago to move forward and fulfill our agenda. So I think the media the other day said, oh, you're campaigning. And I said, I start campaigning the day after the election. So we have to get ready for the next election. That's what it is. I vote for someone that is going to work hard for the party, shares our same philosophies, and not one way or another, but pretty straightforward what we campaigned on. And I don't like, really, honestly, I don't like telling one person over another. It's not fair, because we're all one party. And I think people are smart enough in the party. They may want to support, because it's, we just want one united party. That's what we want.
Thank you for indulging some of the media's questions tonight. Much accomplished, more to do. We'll see you next convention. And we wish you all the best in your party for a more successful future campaign that you have moving forward. And because a lot of Ontarians rely on you to unwind a big mess, Mr. Premier. And let me be the first to say, I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone out there. Thank you.